Hello, this is Alec, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Oceanic Tarot, published by CISO, or I think it's CICO Books, written by Jayne Wallace and illustrated by Jane Delaford-Taylor. So a few different people went into making this deck. I want to say that I don't have the original box. It didn't come with this bag, but shout out to Static Chaos for making this really amazing bag. It's kind of has a mermaid print on it, so I thought it'd be really good for my Oceanic Tarot. These bags are really good quality, so shout out to Static Chaos. You can find her shop in the comments below. So yeah, so I got this deck a little, like maybe 5 months ago, and I really wanted an Oceanic deck. Oceanic themed deck, and I really loved the artwork of this deck. I really thought it was compelling. So I actually had a dream about this deck. Like I wanted it that badly. So I ended up getting it. It's fairly cheap, and I'll get more into why that's kind of an issue in a little bit. But this guide booklet's pretty standard. It has a list of spreads, how to begin a reading, pretty standard stuff. I think it's not terribly in depth, but it's also not it's not terribly brief either. The descriptions on the cards of the major arcana include a physical description explaining what the card is depicting, which the minor arcana does not have. But both have the meanings with a keyword that's on the card. Oops, focus. I don't know if you can even read this. This might be backwards. I'm not sure how. Google Hangouts handles video when I publish it. There's keywords underneath the cards. You get a picture of the card. It is a pretty standard deck. Pretty standard descriptions. Let's get to the cards. As brief and as decent as the book is, I mean, the cards are where the main attraction is. So as you can see, the back of the cards are non-reversible. It's pretty easy to tell when this is reversed and when isn't it. I don't read these cards reversed for that reason, as well as the booklet doesn't include reverse meanings, so I don't. I don't include reverse meanings myself. So something I knew coming into this deck that I didn't think was going to be such a big problem is that all the pip cards are not illustrated. And they have different backgrounds, which is kind of nice, which is what I liked, where the pentacles use turtles, the wands use seahorses, cups use dolphins, and then swords use sharks. And I love sharks, so I was really excited that sharks were depicted at all in this deck, because most Oceanic themed decks that I have looked at mainly only involve dolphins, and that's great and all, but I mean, where are the sharks? Sharks are important. I love my sharks. So yeah, I mean, this is a little disappointing where, I mean, I can't show you much art because there isn't much to show, but the art that they have is really beautiful. So I didn't think it was going to be a big issue. I've used decks before that don't depict the pip cards, and, you know, tarot originally didn't do that. They didn't originally illustrate the pip cards, but at the same time, it's 2017. Let me see when we have art on my cards. I'm starting to really get behind reading by looking at the art of a card, and this deck doesn't allow me to do that. Something that I do like is that they have these keywords at the bottom of all the cards. So like the 5 of Swords here is conflict, 8 of Cups here is change, 9 of Wands is defense, and 7 of Pentacles is potential. And that's really great. I like the keywords, but the keywords also don't always match up with the meaning the best way. Like I find there's better keywords than the ones that the deck has given me. So let's get into talking about the other art of the card. So this is the Vortex, which is the devil in this deck. They changed the name of the card, but it still has similar meanings to the devil. It's more about the bondage aspect. Temptation is what the key word for this is. Knight of Swords. These are illustrated. There's a lot of men in this deck. The Knight and Pages are both men. For the most part, I think there's like one page that they like the description doesn't really give pronouns for. But that does lean this deck to being very, since there are no illustrations on the pip cards, you kind of are left with the court in the major arcana, and that doesn't leave a lot of women, unfortunately, or non-binary people for that matter either. There's no explicitly non-binary characters. The language of the booklet is also gendered in a lot of ways, and that's something I'm trying to point out more, because I'm so used to it that I am tuning it out almost when I read through decks, like, oh yeah, the feminine energy, and I just tune it out. But it's something that I should pay attention to. This is the Queen of the Ocean, or the Empress. They changed that, and the Emperor is the King of the Ocean. Something that I really do like about this deck is that there is diversity. I mean, there's white people, but then I'm pretty sure the Pentacles suits are explicitly Asian, or like Pacific. Like there's definitely an ethnicity there, which is, I don't see that very often, and that's really nice. High Priestess. King of Swords. Page of, I think this is one of the cards that was not descriptive about gender of the page here. So it doesn't matter. I always like to insert the gender I prefer or makes most sense with the court cards, be that male, female, non-binary, what have you. Ace of Pentacles. The Pentacles are illustrated, and I do appreciate that. Not anything really grand. It kind of just introduces the Oceanic symbol, I think is what the book calls them. The Fool. Knight of Wands. It's an illustration. This is a cool magician with the different animals in the background, different symbols in the foreground. The deck describes his hand as like being in the position of manifesting things, but I'm like, I looks like he's presenting the tools, so it kind of gives a different meaning to this card to me. The Chariot. The Moon. Temperance is now called the Angel of the Ocean in this deck. This is Temperance. Surprisingly enough, Judgment's not changed. Here's the Sun, and I'll show you when it comes. I really like this this High Priest, or the Hierophant. Really like just kind of the expression this person has, and like I feel the wisdom, and I feel the teaching, like the mentorship that I really like about the Hierophant. That's a good card. Focus. King of Pentacles. So yeah, a downside to this deck is that a lot of the meanings you got to get from the keyword at best, and then you have to know what, oh, Nine of Cups means this, and you can't rely on imagery, and that's a shame, a little bit of a shame. I really like seeing how decks interpret different pip cards differently. Queen of Pentacles. Get this to focus. Whoop. The World. This is a nice little world card. I find the imagery really meaningful, but I should take that back. I find it very beautiful and simple, but not very meaningful. like, there's not a lot of symbolism being used. Again, you're really relying on knowing the book meanings of the cards. It's the Star. Queen of Swords. Look at that beautiful shark. So yeah, I do really like this deck still. I think in my written review, I said I give it a solid 5 out of 10. And that's mainly a huge bias on my part because I really wanted an Oceanic deck. I really like this art style. I just wish that it was more. So this is the Hangman. Here's Judgment. Again, it's not usually Judgment. I would think people would change if they're changing the Devil, but no, Judgment's still Judgment. Justice, another pretty good card. The Tower in this is really cool. I like the burning ship. You have to skip through most of these cards because they're just the non-illustrated pips. Oop, focus. This is the Page of Wands. That is blurry. Oop. Oh well, I give up. This is Strength, which I really like. The opening and freeing the fish, and it's kind of like what's the keyword? Stability. See, I don't really see stability in this card. I see more of like using your strength to help others, and this is where the keywords and I disagree. Here's the Lovers, which I don't really feel these lovers very much. I don't feel much chemistry here. She looks like she's looking for someone else. She's like, I'm kind of done with this relationship, but whatever. Queen of Cups, the King of the Ocean, so the Emperor, Queen of Wands, Two of Wands. The Wheel of Fortune is pretty neat, just like this whirlpool with all the different fish. 7. Knight of Pentacles, kind of like this riding the turtle. A Death. This is another really cool card. Doesn't really show the transformation of death that much, but like I like the shipwreck and the coral and the sharks. Again, I'm a big fan of sharks. Again, bias showing. King of Wands, Knight of Cups. I think we're almost done. Page of Swords. The Hermit. It's a very simple card. Jellyfish. And then that is it. One thing to mention also about this deck is just the feel of the cards. They're very plasticky and very thin. Again, this deck is not expensive, so the material reflects that. It's not terrible, but it's grown on me a little bit. But it bothered me a lot how plasticky these felt when I originally got it. And yeah, so trying to think if there's anything else really worth mentioning. Again, I do like this deck. It's a struggle to like it though, because there's a lot of things that are holding me back. Specifically, like the keywords not matching the cards, while being beautifully illustrated, not really expressing meaning as much as they could be. But I really like that there's some diversity in ethnicities in this deck. For having so little people, it's nice that it's not just white people. I wish there was more gender diversity. That would have been something I would have liked to see. And something you would like. Again, you get that a lot with the pip cards, and you don't. I really didn't think it was going to bother me as much as it does that the pip cards aren't illustrated. But here we are with me complaining. Anyways, I think I'll leave it there. That's about beginner. If this is a good beginner deck, I'm torn if it's a good beginner deck or not. Because on one hand, you have the keyword meanings here. The book is really simplistic and it's and concise with its descriptions of the cards. And the booklet itself is a pretty good introduction, I would say, to doing tarot. It explains the major arcana, explains the minor arcana, gives tips to like, oh, work with only the major arcana until you get used to it, etc., etc. This is how you learn the meanings. The booklet also, for the minor arcana, has these little tables. So it explains the suit, the oceanic symbol, the element, the suit energy, and then the numbered correspondence. So it's trying to teach you how to, oh, I know that aces are about beginnings and cups are about emotions, so I should know that Ace of Cups is about beginning of a relationship. That's great. So that's one, if that's how someone would learn tarot, then I think this deck wouldn't be a bad beginner deck for someone. But if you're someone like me who's trying to rely more on the imagery, this deck might be a little bit more difficult, would be a lot more difficult because you have these pip cards that don't have any illustration. But again, big props for having sharks. I'm always about the sharks. Again, the great on the ethnicities. I wish it was better on gender. And it's overall a pretty decent deck. I'm going to keep it around until a better Oceanic themed deck is released. I haven't found a lot that I like. But yeah, that is the Oceanic Tarot. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or comments, you can leave them below or email them to me at alec.guire@gmail.com. Also, I hope you are having a good day, evening, whatever. Bye.